It's another episode of Dungeon Masters Guild Design Dash. Boop. Hi, everybody. I am one of your lovely hosts, Lysa Penrose, Community Manager of Dungeon Masters Guild. If this is your first time tuning into Design Dash, welcome. Put your seatbelt on, get ready for a crazy ride, because Design Dash is where we put 3 of our best-selling D&D writers up against each other in a 15-minute design challenge. Think Project Runway, Iron Chef, any other show like that, but with D&D. Yep, that is me. That is my spiel. My co-host today is the lovely Matt.
Hey everybody, I'm one of the publishing managers on DM's Guild and Drive Through Comics and lots of other sites in that family. I also do a lot of work with Onyx Path Publishing and on Scarred Lands behind me and a few other games. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what we come up with today.
Yeah. Seeing what folks have ready for the secret theme. But let's meet our contestants. We have one returning contestant, Matthew, who everybody voted for last month to bring back. But he has 2 new challengers. First up is Jacky.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jacky. You can also known as Death by Mage on the internets. And I'm really looking forward to this little contest.
Yeah. So, Jacky, what of your design style do you think viewers can look forward to today?
It's probably going to be a parody because I love parodies. That's just what I love to do. I really will say that if it's Disney related, I'm sorry.
Oh no. This VOD is going to get pulled from YouTube.
I know, right? No, I promise it won't. It'll be legally distinct, I promise.
Legally distinct. Lovely. We come to Design Dash for them legally distinct adventures. Next up, in our new challengers is Justice. Justice, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Justice. You might know me as Norse DM on Twitter. I also work for Beetle and Grimm's.
Very cool, very exciting. So, Justice, this is an unconventional sort of way to design for Dungeons & Dragons. Did you do anything to prepare for your time in the arena?
So there was talk of this being like a cooking show, so I watched a lot of Great British Bake Off. So I'm looking forward to it being basically exactly like that.
Yeah,
I've studied icing, everything.
All right, Good. I think that is going to pay off for sure. Definitely. And Matthew, our returning champion from episode 3, Design Dash. Matthew, for those who didn't catch your introduction last time, who the heck are you?
I'm Matthew Gravelyn. You might find me on Twitter at Mr. Matthew. I dabble a lot in supplemental writing, probably most well known for my series of how-to guides on how to make your own subclasses. I think since the last time I was here, I have finished all of the base classes out of the Player's Handbook. They are officially all done. They are all pay what you want on DM's Guild. You might also know me as one of the contributing writers to Humblewood, which
Super
is
cute.
a wildly popular Kickstarter, which I am super thrilled about. And if I remember correctly, just yesterday, I think the first wave of books went out to Kickstarter backers.
Ooh.
You can check out Hit Point Press and the Deck of Many on Twitter to keep updates with those. But people should be getting those any day now, and I'm super thrilled for people to check out those good burbs.
Yeah, some good burbs. Okay. Oh, well, actually, before we go into the secret theme, I was about to do secret theme, but I'm going to make everyone kind of wait on the edge of their seat. Matthew, do you have any advice, having been in the arena before, for Jacky and Justice?
So, yes, in the immortal words of Stanley Tucci, gird your loins. This is going to be rough. But in seriousness, the one thing that I would say is don't check anything. Just go with your gut. Put it on paper. Get it written down. You do not have time to do a lot of editing and revision here. So you're all talented writers, I'm sure. You've got good ideas floating around in your brain. Just get them on paper, get them out as fast as you can, and iterate on them.
Yeah. I'm seeing folks in chat from both Dungeon Masters Guild. I see the Willy Boo over there, and also the T-Boyce from RPG Writers Workshop. So thanks for joining us. All right, Willy Boo demands I reveal my secrets, so I think it is time. I think I have waited long enough. So you all will have 15 minutes to design an encounter. The theme, in honor of my cat scratching my couch on the internet. Stop. Okay. The theme, in honor of Eberron Rising from the Last War launching next week, next Tuesday, is what's a warforged? Wrong answers only.
Oh god.
And with that, go design. It is 11:06 right now, so we will call this at 11:21. 11:21. And so for those of you who are joining in our first time, we will peek at everybody's designs as they design. We'll maybe comment a little bit here or there. But in the meantime, hello, Matt. We get to chit chat for 15 minutes.
Sounds awesome.
We get to entertain with DM's Guild news.
Yeah, we've
Aren't
got
you
some
so
very
excited,
cool
chat?
news.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just launched some new Extra Life PDFs. Why don't you tell us about those a little bit?
Yeah. So we launched, well, 2 new PDFs and a new font, which I think is like pretty new as well. So the font, if you want to create really cool handouts for your Avernus campaigns, just really spookily written notes for your roommates, you could download the Infernal Font. It is the official font that Wizards of the Coast used for Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus. It comes with a license to use for personal use, or if you are a Dungeon Masters Guild creator or someone planning to publish on Dungeon Masters Guild, it comes with a license for things published on dmsguild.com. I believe it is $10. 70% of that goes to Extra Life, which is a nonprofit that supports Children's Miracle Network hospitals. So like that's awesome. But also like if you like do any sort of like font purchasing for publications, you know that like fonts with a commercial license can be very expensive. So it's also just kind of an amazing deal. Oh, I got a tickle in my throat. Oh God, I'm gonna just die on stream. I'm sorry, everybody.
No,
I perish.
I'm the one that gets sick on our team, remember?
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody. These are my final words. My final words will be talking about these PDFs. So then we also have Infernal Machine Rebuild, which is an adventure. The lead writer was Bart Carroll, but he also took a lot of contributions from folks who donated to his Extra Life. And that is like a really fun, wacky adventure where you're looking for ancient artifacts, but you're traveling through space and time. So you go to like the Tomb of Horrors, the Temple of Moloch, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it's a really fun, wacky adventure. It includes an Adventurers League certificate for like a little trinket. So the adventure itself is not Adventurers League legal, because it just has a bunch of other things going on in it. Not appropriate for AL play, but you can play it with your group and everyone can reward one of their characters with what is on the certificate, which includes stuff for DMs as well. So definitely check that out. And then the last really cool little bundle we got from Wizards of the Coast was Adventure with Muck, which is really adorable. It is an activity book featuring Muck, the bravest goblin. And there are little activities for learning how to draw cartoon versions of monsters, inventing a little monster. There are adventure hooks, like little word puzzles, pre-generated characters in the back that have their own little like illustrated goblins that are super cute. All of the illustrations were done by Emmy Tangi. So if you read Dragon Plus magazine, the digital D&D magazine, or if you have supported the custom ink campaigns that support Extra Life, and you really love those like little cartoon versions of monsters, that is Emmy. And so this is all done in that really cute style. Thank you, TK, for grabbing links and throwing those in chat for folks who are watching live right now.
I think these are all great. I love it when we get new Extra Life PDFs, and every year I get surprised by the fun quality and the different ways we can support Extra Life that the D&D team sends us.
Yeah, I won't spoil what it is or give any other details, but I don't think the D&D team is done yet releasing things on DM's Guild to support Extra Life. So you all can look out for some more content coming from the Wizards of the Coast team. So speaking of, so Eberron is coming out next Tuesday, Eberron Rising from the Last War, which means a few things for Dungeon Masters Guild. The first is that we have an awesome Eberron sale on our site right now. So that's discounts on a bunch of previous editions of stuff and things, digital PDFs, digital PDFs are on sale that take place in Eberron from Wizards. But since the release of Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron earlier, a bunch of members of our community have been creating 5e content for that setting. And so all of that, like across the site in that category, is 20% off right now. And then if you go to our website, there's like a big banner for the sale. And we also have some select supplements and adventures that are up to 70% off. And one of those includes a little bundle of the first adventures of Eberron series, the community creators have made. So that includes like the Kyber Chronicles that have a whole bunch of like encounters. And then I think the other group is Across Eberron. They have like a whole bunch of adventures in a story path. And so if you want to just try the first ones and see which of those series are for you, I would definitely recommend getting that bundle.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what new Eberron material the community comes up with.
Yeah.
I need new adventures to torment my players, so I want to see what people are creating.
Yes. I know that Alex Clippinger, former Design Dash competitor, has published like a Western sort of Eberron adventure, Western pulp action. So that's really exciting. And I can only imagine that a bunch of folks have things ready to go to support the release next week. So definitely check out dmsguild.com next week.
I'm looking forward to it because I haven't tormented my players enough yet.
Let's see. What else have I got on my little list here? Oh, so speaking of Wayfinders, so D&D had mentioned that Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron would be getting an update with the release of Eberron Rising from the Last War. So if you have purchased Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, we will be pushing next week an updated PDF on the Tuesday that the book launches, and that will update the rules in there to be in line with what you would see in the new book. It also includes a preview of the Artificer. I believe it includes one of the subclasses that made it into the final book. So even before purchasing the hardcover book, you can kind of see what some of the updated material is. And so that's awesome if you've purchased it previously or I guess after. Just everyone will get the update.
Yeah, if you haven't, it's 20% off right now. So now is a great time to grab it, and your file will be automatically updated in your library once we drop the new PDF.
Yeah, so check out your library. As things are updated, they kind of get pushed to the top so you can see what was updated most recently. Okay, and then the last Eberron related thing, and I will repeat this probably at the end of the episode too, is for folks who are watching, I wanted to share a special discount code with you. So this discount code can be used for 20% off one purchase. It's one time per customer account. It expires next week, so November 22nd, and it can be used on any community creator content on Dungeon Masters Guild. And that code is RoboDash, all capital letters in case that matters, because I was very excited and I typed it in all caps in the system. But ROBO dash Robo Dash, and you can save 20%. So take advantage of that code. Curse of Seb says, curse you, Lysa. Yes, yes. It's a 1 week only code. So let folks know, encourage them to join the stream or watch the VOD later. We will always, moving forward, I'm planning on always including a little discount code to thanks everyone for tuning in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what else do we have happening on the DM's Guild site coming up?
Yes. So we have, it's probably going to happen on drive-through first, but I did want to talk about it for Dungeon Masters Guild. And let me hide the little window capture for a moment. But on drive-through, we have a number of exciting changes that are in the works. So for those who don't know, Dungeon Masters Guild is powered by Drive-Thru RPG, and our team has been really hard at work at a redesign overhaul, user experience overhaul. I've just put a URL up on the overlay, onebookshelf.com/brand, if you want to read about all of the changes upcoming. But that includes basically the structure of the site being much more user-friendly. We've also designed some new versions of the little metal badges. So you might have noticed some listings have on the sidebar, or some people have even put them on their covers, copper, silver, gold, etc. best sellers. And that means folks have reached different tiers of sales. Right now they look like little coins, but our team has worked on this really cool banner design that I put up on the screen. And let's see. The
Wiley Boo is,
wants to know, are we getting these new metal designs too? And yes, the intention is everyone will be getting these awesome new designs. And the structure of DM's Guild would match the new user experience, user interface for drive-thru as well. So actually right after Design Dash over on twitch.tv/drivethrurpg, the drive-thru team with the designer in charge of all of these changes will be doing their own stream in case you have questions. I believe they've been taking questions all week through a Google form. If you go to @drivethrurpg, that's in several of the more recent tweets. But we will have someone monitoring chat if you want to ask questions that way as well. And that's happening right after this stream at noon Pacific time. That's happening over on drive-thru. Let me bring the little window back up to do a little peek. Goodness, we have so much happening over on Dungeon Masters Guild. Ooh, and we have 2 minutes left until time is up. That flew by.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Rage Cage wants to know, what was the prompt for today's dash? Oh, never mind, I see it. Well, for those of you who are just listening, I will do a repeat. And it is, what's a warforged? Wrong answers only. Reaper Cake, you just dropped in. The code, which is RoboDash, is for purchases on dmsguild.com or dungeonmastersguild.com. We are a platform where folks are able to publish licensed 5th edition D&D content. Or you can also purchase a bunch of classic material that has been scanned into digital PDFs, or you can even purchase things as print-on-demand books. So there are a lot of classic books. I know I personally will buy every single Ravenloft title that we have as print-on-demand because I missed out on early Ravenloft, and I like having my bookshelf full of Ravenloft things. So we do have those print-on-demand titles. Select community creator titles are available as print-on-demand as well. Folks are probably most familiar with the Uncaged Anthology or maybe Heroes of Baldur's Gate. Hi, Critical Bard. Thanks for joining in. We love you. I'm really excited to see what folks have for us. Matthew has removed the notes he had at the top here, but I saw a little notes outline that said something about a store mannequin. So love that. Hi, Jess. Hey, Crystal. Hi, DC. Oh, so many friends in chat. Thanks for watching. So in our last minute, so one thing that I will share for the creators, the DMs Guild creators and aspiring creators, is that around this time last year, we had solicited like requests for updates and changes, features added to Dungeon Masters Guild to make your lives easier. We have been working on those still. We kind of front-loaded a bunch we knew would be easier to make so we could get you a bunch of changes right away. The team right now is working on implementing the ability to embed images in your product listings easily as you're making the product listing. Previously, folks would have to like host the image elsewhere and then add that into their product description, and there were only certain places where they could host. That is what we are working on right now. We think that'll make a big difference for folks who are spending a lot of time and effort making these listings. That is not released yet. Our team's working on it, trying to figure out how to make it work for you. But that's just a little preview of what you have to look forward to.
Basically, for people unfamiliar with this, you'll be able to put screenshots or pages from your PDF below your text description and basically show off more of why your PDF is awesome.
Yeah. So I have called time. I see Matthew putting his headphones back in, doing eyebrow dances. I think Jacky's maybe. All right. And Justice, let's check in. I do a scroll. They're still typing. We do a highlight. We try not to delete everything. And Justice is with us as we have called time at the end of this Dungeon Masters Guild Design Challenge. Headphones are back in. We caught you, Justice.
You're muted.
Oh,
You're still on mute, Justice.
You know it's going to turn out weird, and then you do it, and then it turns out really weird.
Wow,
You
that
know,
flew
I
by,
kind of
didn't
went
it?
a direction, and I just went with it.
I know. I started. I'm like, I'm going to brainstorm some notes. Typed in the first thing. It's just like, no, let's just do that. That sounds sufficiently.
That was 15
bizarre.
minutes. Wow.
All right, so let's take a
Right.
look at these encounters. So for folks who are just tuning in now, this is a design dash. Our lovely contestants here had 15 minutes to make a 5th edition D&D encounter. The theme was, what is a warforged? Wrong answers only. And Jacky, you're up first, so walk us through your design.
So what I usually like to do is sometimes I like to focus on, if it's an encounter, I like to focus on the subject of the encounter. So I wanted to focus on what's a wrong answer Warforged. And I kind of just went in this really dark tangent of, well, I thought about animated appliances and and so I created these toaster Warforged and a watch Warforged. And I kind of wanted to focus on that. And I wanted to focus on this idea, and because I love the brave little toaster, because I was scared of it as a child, because that vacuum cleaner is scary, it's scary as heck. So I kind of went that dark path, and I kind of thought about, well, toasters are brave, watches are kind of these weird things that like to watch death. So I was like, okay, we're gonna go this dark route, and we're gonna play with it. So I will say that I at least got to the part of at least developing the monsters and probably like giving up some options and some things for them. And I got some racial stats in there because I just like building races a lot. So
Yeah, so let me scroll. Let's scroll through here and actually walk through. I'm over at like toasters section. So walk me through that, and then walk me through what your thought process was as you were making some of these.
So as I was thinking about the toasters, I thought about like, well, if we make toasters, we can make them as like these little heroes, and like the heroes of the adventure, and or the subject of the adventure. And I thought, okay, well, let's think about what kind of characteristics they have. And I thought, well, they're brave. They have this ability to empower their friends. So I thought, why don't we start giving them some of those powers and traits? So I labeled, so I got like power of toast. It's like you unsheath a piece of toast and you inspire your allies.
Ah, carbs inspire me.
It's either that or they give us sugar comas. It's either one. And then I thought about, well, they're resilient and they're always determined. So I thought, okay, so let's give them the shiny soul aspect. So they have proficiency to wisdom and charisma saving throws. And then I thought about, the fact that they're well, they just look like innocent toasters when they don't want to be, because if anyone's ever watched Brave Little Toaster, all the appliances look like normal appliances when they want to be, kind of like Toy Story. It's that same effect. So I thought, oh well, yeah, they should have the ability to do that. And then I thought about, oh man, if I had more time to write this, I could make an entire adventure where you're all playing as appliances in Eberron, and you're trying to not let anybody know about the secret adventures and triumphs and battles that happen. And I thought,
Oh my gosh, it's like Toy Story. Oh no.
Toy Story
I'm the
Eberron.
one who brought in the.
You did it. You did it.
I tried very hard.
There goes the
That's
legal.
on me, but like
I warned
very
you all.
legally distinct.
Yes, I warned you all there was going to be a parody somewhere.
I was gonna say he came in and said he was gonna do this.
This is
I
on
warned
me,
you
really.
all. I warned you, and then I got the watches going, and that's as far as I
Yeah.
got. So
Yeah. Well, walk us through the start of the Watchers.
So the Watchers are basically like these timepieces, so they're like watches and everything, and they like this. They are really fascinated about things dying, because they like to keep track of time. They like to keep track of watching time. So they're very fascinated about, oh, how long does it take for a mortal to die? How long does it take?
Wait, can I hit
And-
pause for a second? I have not seen the this toaster movie. Is this from that, or is this from your brain?
My brain. This is my brain
okay,
now.
all
This
right,
part
yeah,
is from
that's-
my brain now.
Oh, okay.
part
Watches
is the-
just
this
like
is the
they
part-
like to. Okay.
This is the part of me who is over fixated about death. So it's like,
The nature of time, sure.
yeah. So I got as far as thinking about, well, they're proficient with knowing things about death, and so I thought, let's give them Arcana. Let's give them as resistance to necrotic damage, because that's all about that. And there was going to be an ability that if I had time, to call Gotta Dash, and it's all about them racing to a dying creature. So it's all about, if they're less than half hit points, they gain a speed boost. So it was like, that was going to be a thing. So that was kind of how I wanted to go with that.
All right, cool. So this definitely answers the what is a warforged? Wrong
Mhm.
answers only theme. Not an encounter though. So how
No.
could a DM use even just these notes here to make an
Mhm.
encounter?
So if you're going to make an encounter, think about because I built two very distinct individual warforged. So, but there's a relation. You can see there's a chance that one has a certain purpose, one has another purpose. So you can easily try to come up with a idea of an encounter where you can use one or the other, or maybe have both clashing. The Watchers are going a little too far with their fascination with death. The toasters are trying to be the good appliances, and then you have this great epic clash, and now you have to figure out, where do you fit in all of this? Where does your characters fit in all this? Do they get transformed into appliances themselves? Do they which is a very thing I like to do sometimes, and then or they have to help one or the other, or try to reconcile with the Watchers and try to get them off of this really narrow point of view.
I adore this. I really want there to be like I really want that exact encounter where you're all warforged but skinned as as appliances, and that's called like kitchen forged or something.
Oh yeah,
Like a bunch of people made warforged as these war machines, but like this one like crazy gnome or something like made a bunch like just to like make perfect toast.
Yes.
That's very adorable. So then I guess another question I would have for you, Jacky, is was this the same and or different from your usual design process?
So normally I like to think about the subject of an encounter. So like if it's a creature I'm featuring in it or not. And if it's a creature I'm featuring in, I like to think about their story. I like to think about what they do, how they think, and what kind of ways they can interact with the players, the characters, and the adventurers. And that's usually where I start. And so it kind of actually is where I usually start. I took a little bit more effort. I made some player races because I thought the idea would be cool if everyone chose to be appliance forge or kitchen forge in this case. That seems like a great idea.
So if you had like another 15 minutes to keep working on this, would you flesh these out more, or would you add more types?
I would probably add either another type, or I would actually start doing the outline for at least like what I wanted for the encounter.
Sure.
Like at that point I probably would want, okay, what's the story, what's the story, and what happens, and what are the options to resolve it. and that'll be the main last bit. And then after that, it just comes out to fleshing out the other two. I like having 2 or 3 usually as choices, and 2 seems good for this one since it creates a nice little dichotomy, and so
Sure.
it's just nice and concise. So I would probably at this point, after finishing that, get ready for the outline for the encounter.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah.
Since you had put together these racial options
Mhm.
for folks, is there anything special you do in your approach for creating these for 5e specifically? Like, is there anything that informs your sense of what would be balanced for 5th edition?
Okay, yeah. So when I'm like doing race design, I usually like to think about what kind of characteristics I really want to showcase, and I try to keep it in simple. I try to keep it minimal. I try to keep it around 2 to 4 traits that I really want to showcase, and ability scores count as 1 as well. So I usually focus on just what kind of bonuses matter, and then what kind of traits I really want them to showcase, what they really should be doing the most, what makes them iconic, and that's how I come up with that.
Nice. Well, that was an adorable little toast forged. Someone in chat, General Mosh, says it's chef forged, which that actually makes it sound so fancy, like a really sharp knife or something.
Ooh.
Everyone is a winner on DM's Guild, so chat, I challenge you as we're going through everyone's designs to figure out what superlative each person's encounter would be. Like Jacky's could maybe be like most toast. Or I'll keep an eye on chat. We'll pick our favorites for the end. But Jacky, thank you very much for sharing your creation with us. Oh my God, Curse of Seb says warforged.
Oh,
Yes.
oh! I have it. I have
Sick.
an idea.
So good. All right, we're going to move along to the next challenger, and that's Justice. Okay, we're gonna unread your encounter.
I was naughty, I guess.
Yeah.
I saw it turn pink, and I was like, "What does pink mean?" Your color was pink on mine, but yeah, that makes sense. That was a fast 15 minutes.
Yeah. So Justice, I've got your encounter up on the screen. Walk us through your encounter.
Okay, so I wanted to do a murder mystery because I feel like Eberron is really intrigue, mystery, that sort of thing. So, what's funny is Toaster also came to mind for me.
Oh, there might be a challenge for
there
most
might be.
toast.
Yeah. My whole thing was like the Lord of Blades has sent some murders, and the characters are supposed to go get these murders. But the night before they go into the investigation, each one of them gets hit by a modified memory spell, and they forget what a warforged is. So they're walking into this department store in the upper areas of Shard, and it's owned by this House Cannith guy who specializes in a bunch of clockwork stuff. And right before they enter the department store, this inspector walks out and he's like, "Hey, everybody's lined up. It should be easy." Walks over, and then they're next to the display cases. So they go in, and there's like 3 people, and then a toaster, a vacuum cleaner, and a mannequin with a dinner knife. And they can't remember who's who or what's going on there. So the first thing they have to do is rule out the half-elf and the store's owner, because none of the appliances are talking, and neither is the warforged murderer who's standing there probably with a dripping knife. And so once they do that, they have to look for physical clues, and that's about as far as I got. There's 2 pieces of stale bread inside the toaster, so it doesn't look like a murder weapon. The vacuum cleaner, even though it makes a really nasty sound, it doesn't have any mobile limbs, so it probably didn't stab anybody. And then the mannequin doesn't have any joints, even though it is has rippling musculature and a stoic pose. It can't really bend, so that one probably rules that out. And that's where I ran out of time.
Oh my gosh, the premise is super duper fun. So I guess you'd need to have the right sort of table where you're totally on board with the premise, but then also willing to like separate player and character knowledge, but I feel like that's part of the fun, just like role playing that you don't know what a warforged is. But what would you recommend? What are ways for a DM to run this encounter to like, so even if like a player knows what a warforged is, how can what in the encounter makes it so that their characters don't? Like, is it different roles or?
Yeah, I think that's something you'd probably have to set apart before, you tell the players, hey, we're going to do something. This is an area that it could be kind of metagamey. And you could set maybe some mechanical boundaries. Like you have to find a clue to justify the knowledge you have. So if you didn't find a clue about the vacuum cleaner, you as a character have no reason to suspect one or the other. So ideally, I guess if I had more time, I'd want to put some more mechanical rules in here for maybe giving a bonus to investigation check, and you have to hit a certain DC to identify the warforged or something.
Nice. I like the idea that there's like a set of clues that you can find, like maybe like a table or something of clues. But then the DM's also always empowered if a player just comes up with some sort of like hilarious reason for their character to suspect something is or is not a warforged. Now, so you had gotten to the solving the mystery section. Did you have any thoughts as to different end scenarios? Because it's entirely possible they arrest this Kiss the Cook mannequin.
Well, I actually thought it would be cool if maybe at the end there's a twist and, they arrest the warforged and then, I don't know, the DM reveals that their modified memory spell has twisted or something, or this is totally like a one shot and the mannequin is actually the killer and the mannequin like breaks out and starts fighting them and they're like, get the warforged or something like that, and then there's a combat encounter at the end.
I love that fun twist.
Yeah, that would be cool, but I didn't get that far, so you can't use that in voting.
Staying
So how does this differ from your usual design process?
It's a little different. I really like to get a full outline out before I ever start writing something. So Matthew's advice at the beginning about just kind of going off the cuff, I totally did that. Otherwise, I might only have like 12 words here. I usually like to make a skeleton out of everything before. So I would know I need to fill out a mechanical section. I would know how it ended and it would all be down there before I ever started putting in, fluff or filling out any of these sections. So definitely faster than I'm used to, but it was also kind of fun. Very stream of consciousness.
Nice. Do you feel like, would you say you learned anything about design process or potentially doing more stream of conscious design, or you're gonna stick with your outline and filling in between?
A little bit of both. I think sometimes it's healthy to do that stream of consciousness thing. Maybe before even doing the outline, doing something like this, and then picking from that would be helpful. I also hope there's not a lot of Eberron fans in the chat because they're gonna think that we've equated Warforged with appliances.
Wait, they're not?
That's wrong answers.
Maybe we should probably get the book next week.
Well, okay, in your defense, this was wrong answers only. Wrong answers only
I
was the
totally
theme.
knew that, right? Yeah.
I'm also seeing that you did take the time to give a lot of the characters that appear, not the toaster or the vacuum, so that seems a bit appliancecist, but the store owner, Warforged, and Half Elf all have names.
Yeah, I don't know.
How do you choose names? Are names really important to you when you're putting something together?
So I totally go to the fantasy name generator and I let that do all the work for me. And I click it and refresh it over and over and over again until I find a name that sort of can work and that somebody looking at it doesn't go, hey, that's just from a generator. But usually one sticks out, and sometimes a name will remind me of a character I forgot about. Like Jacky was talking about the little toaster, and sometimes something will come up that's strikingly similar to something I saw in TV when I was a kid. And I was like, man, it'd be really interesting if this character kind of was like the blanket from Brave Little Toaster. And maybe they have some of the same stuff there. And I might write something after doing that. but I thought half elves are kind of snooty, and I don't know, Francois sounded
Ooh,
like a kind of like
Jade.
words dropped there. Half elves. I really like the inspector named Sniff.
yeah, he's I figured since
Inspector
he's a
Sniff.
shifter, he's kind of like got dog like stuff. So he's an inspector, so he's like a bloodhound or something. I don't know.
A good little puppo.
Mhm.
But yeah, they're so toasters in this one as well, and specifically 2 pieces of stale toast.
Yes, I
And
figured
all-
one would have a bite bitten out of it. And that
Oh,
might have been
okay.
another
So
clue.
actually, like 1 and like 1.75 pieces of toast.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So chat, please consider that when you nominate someone for most toast.
Half eaten.
All right, Justice, thank you very much for sharing your encounter with us. I think, was it the Willy Boo? Someone in chat, yeah, Willy Boo said the vacuum murdered the victim with its power cord. I feel like it'd be fun if somehow this had like mechanics like Clue, or it could be different who the secret actual murderer is at the end. But yeah, that was very fun. But last but not least, let's take a look at the encounter by our returning champion, Matthew. What you got for us? Oh, I'm also gonna disrupt your headers, if that's okay, just to make everything the same font size.
Sure.
Okay, so folks can read it easy.
Yeah, I like, as Justin mentioned, I like to outline a whole thing so I know like where the flow is going. But I also I format as I go. I know that's like most people do formatting after they consider that to be an after effect, but there's just something about the doing the formatting and thinking about headers, thinking about sections that then helps me structure the thing I'm working on. So you don't have to do like colors and fonts and everything, but like even just utilizing like a Google Docs header 1, header 2, whatever. I don't know, like maybe it's just me. I have a very structured.
Oh, it's definitely not
brain.
just you.
But
Yeah, I do the same thing.
So yeah, I would encourage, if you're ever kind of struggling with your writing, like just try formatting as you go. You might like find, kind of these intuitive sections that you didn't see before. So.
I totally agree. It makes it feel like, oh, this is like an actual real thing, and that feels good. Like you can like see the design. 2, it is a pain to go and do all of that after. And for newer designers who might just be like taking a font and making it bigger and bold, or what have you, Google Docs, Word, whatever word processor you're using, if it has styles that you can use instead,
absolutely.
Yes, 100% get used to using styles.
Yeah. So the adventure itself, I think last time I went first and I undercut somebody by being the first person to present like a rogue subclass, and now karma has come back and mannequins were undercut. We went toaster to toaster and then mannequin to mannequin. So anyway, I first note, which I started a brainstorming and I was just like, how about mannequins? Okay, what else? No, mannequins is good. So I just stopped brainstorming and I went with mannequins. I took my own advice. And then I also thought like, hey, Black Friday's coming up, which I don't know if that's like an American only holiday or if that's like a worldwide thing, but like things get nuts. People go crazy for shopping. I'm like, okay, I got mannequins and I got Black Friday. This is a good start. Let me go with this. So yeah, wrong answer is that warforged are mannequins. Basically, this can be used, this little encounter can be used as like an interlude between things, some downtime, some spending of gold. Basically, this is just a way for the DM to give the players and the characters some really cool gear, but like maybe it didn't come up. Like they did this whole adventure and they didn't open the right chest or whatever. This is a way where you can still like power up your characters by them going shopping, basically. So the whole premise is that the doors fly open on Black Friday and all the characters run into this shopping center, mall, marketplace, whatever it is, and they all have time to get one thing, and that's like the MacGuffin thing that they needed. That's a suit of armor, that's a weapon, a magic item, a scroll, whatever. But in this particular market, all of the goods are being kind of demoed and worn and illustrated by these animated mannequins that are doing these kind of like slow motion battles with their swords, or they're like reenacting spells in slow motion. in a scroll. But the animation process got out of hand, and now these mannequins who are warforged have developed an attachment to the thing that they were given to display, and they won't give it up. So now you have to get it from them, basically. So I start off with some quick dex and strength checks just to like get through the flood of people. Then you pick out the mannequin that you want to get the thing from. The obvious method here is combat. So there's some quick guide here for combat. You choose just kind of like an equal level warforged combatant to do one-on-one combat with. Again, I view this as kind of like an interlude, as just a way to drop loot. So you don't want to make this like too powerful, but like make it fun, make it visually interesting. And because all the player characters are basically fighting their own individual one-on-one battle, that kind of flies in the face of general D&D combat. So basically each of those combats has its initiative, which is just who goes first, character or mannequin. And then you play a round, and then you go to another character and play their round, and go to another character and play their round. And everybody's having these kind of like epic combat scenes at the same time, but everybody's still getting their equal share of play. So it'll feel more like a typical combat. And then I thought it'd be fun to have some of those fights maybe spill into each other. Like physical fights could just bump into each other. There could be, if somebody casts a fire, that impacts somebody else's fight, where now they have to make dex checks to get out of the way too, even though it's not technically part of their combat. Or like the malls coming down, like displays are being knocked over, walls are being crashed through as people fight with Warforged. So just lots of cool stuff to spice things up. And then in addition to combat, I wrote some rules here about bartering with them. Obviously, there can just be some straight kind of intimidation or persuasion that you could do here. I figured that's got to be a pretty high DC, just because the whole premise is that these things are now like somehow bonded to their item, and they're not just going to give it up because you say so. But I want that to be an option for charismatic characters. And then my absolute most favorite and least used skill in the entire game is Wisdom Insight. I think Wisdom Insight is an amazing ability that nobody like really takes advantage of. So you can use Wisdom Insight to find out what the mannequin really wants. And this can be something deep, like to be freed from them all, or it could be like he just wants a pet, or he really likes your backpack, and you're like, whatever, DM can have fun with it. And then if you, as the character, are in the position to grant that to them, they'll swap it for you, just straight up barter. So again, like if you don't want to come in here and just like beat up a mannequin who's doing his job, there are ways out here. And then this is where I kind of started running out of time, but I imagine there was like this escape plan where like now you got to get out of the mall, and there's just all these like, I imagine all of the shoppers as being like war-hardened veterans with scars and muscles and axes, but they're like fighting over shirts and stuff and TVs. So they're all trying to like grab your stuff on the way out. So there's maybe some more light dex checks to get out. And that's where time was called. So that's Black Friday with Warforged mannequins.
That's really fun. I'm very emotionally attached to these mannequins now. I'm
Yeah,
scrolling
same.
back up through here we go. But have come to love the goods as their own. Oh, that's so sad. This is tragic. I feel like I would just start a mannequin revolution.
Maybe that's what they
Yeah.
want with the insight check.
Yeah, mannequin
murderer.
revolution.
The one thing
Yeah.
I don't see on here is like the employees or the people that created the mannequins. So if you had more time,
Ooh.
how would you flesh that part out?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking about that too, is what would I do here? I would add more non-mannequin stuff. So like obviously the employees, I would add some more stuff with the other shoppers. Like what if another shopper gets the mannequin at the same time and you're both grabbing for it? Now there's like this weird three-way fight between you and the mannequin and this other guy and you. But so with the 15 minutes, I obviously wanted to focus on the Warforged aspect of it
Sure.
and focus on the mannequins. But yeah, there's lots of space here. If anybody's familiar with non-D&D work, I wrote an entire game based on working in a mall. So like, I love this setting. This is very much my brand, is writing weird shopping mall based stuff. So yeah, there would definitely be stuff going on there.
So you have now done a design dash for a subclass and for an encounter. How are those
Yes.
experiences different?
There, I told you before I was kind of like brushing up on my encounter writing because I feel like encounter writing isn't my strong suit. They're different because a subclass has things you have to do. There are more requirements, but it's also very structured. Like, you know what you're going into, and so like a subclass has these things. There are levels that need to be hit. There are types of things that need to be hit, and classes give you an overall guideline of what to do with that. Whereas an encounter is just like, we had Warforged, so at least we had something. We knew we had to do Warforged that were wrong answers, and we had 15 minutes to do it, which is a good subset of rules to play inside of. But an encounter can be anything. They can be dex checks, they can be combat, they can be murder mysteries, which I love, like this lineup of Warforged, basically murderers. I love this concept. So that's kind of the greatness of it, is like it can be anything, but also if you're prone to kind of like having your imagination run away from you, that can also be a curse, as you have way too much space to work in. So I actually felt pretty good about it. I was a little nervous about doing an encounter in 15 minutes, but I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out.
Nice. So I noticed you broke apart like combat possibilities, social possibilities, like different pillars of play. Is that something you tend to do in encounters, or for every encounter?
Yeah, and I mean, I would say even when it's not an encounter, the non-combat is something that I care greatly about. I try and put that into my subclasses that I write. I try and put that into the encounters I write. I put it into the games that I write. I've actually had pretty lengthy conversations with lots of people about my trend over time about getting away from combat. Maybe it's my age, maybe it's because I have a son, maybe it's because of all the stuff going on in the world today. There's a lot of factors, but I'm finding myself more and more interested in the non-combat elements of it, but always keeping, in mind that D is a combat focused system. People like doing combat, so there's got to be a balance. So yeah, exactly. I immediately, going into this encounter after like the first or second paragraph, is just like, okay, you have to fight the mannequin, but there also has to be a way to not fight the mannequin. Like, that has to happen. Whatever I get to do, like if I run out of time on everything else, it's fine, but I have to have rules for combat and non-combat here.
So if you were fleshing this out, would you use a like standard Warforged sort of stat block? Would you create a special mannequin stat block?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of utilizing what's there. I mean, there's, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of official content and 10 times that in unofficial content. Like, if I'm focusing on this encounter, so I wouldn't kind of like rewrite a new stat block. I would definitely kind of pick out, and I expect in the Eberron supplements there to be some kind of Warforged kind of generic stat block, like there are for Connors and everything in the PHB and DM's guide. So yeah, I would totally just lift that out. Again, my initial thought here was that this was not supposed to be super challenging. This was supposed to be a set piece, kind of a novelty. It should make the players feel good and powerful, probably doing this like right after a level up or after a big campaign got closed out. And the whole premise mainly is just to give them a thing without just saying, like, the DM as a human to the player as a human, hey, write this thing on your character sheet. This is kind of a way to basically have them write a thing on their character sheet, but give them some fun.
Like, there's a whole little experience around
right.
it.
And I imagine, this is like effectively a one shot. This should be like one session. This is just like a good fun downtime after a long adventure or something.
Or a side quest before they move on to the next.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be dropped in anywhere. It can be a little rural market. It can be the central market hub of a giant city. It could be really anything.
This should just be a fun little one shot is such a DM thing to say, and then the players are like, we love these mannequins, we're starting a revolution, this is what the campaign is about now.
Yeah, famous last words is, this is just a one shot.
Super fun. So that was a really fun encounter too. I feel like even though there was an overlap between Toast and mannequin themes. We got 3 like really varied offerings, all on the same theme. So if you are watching this live or in the video on YouTube or on Twitch, you can help us figure out who gets to come back to the Design Dash Arena next month to face 2 new best-selling DMs Guild writers in DMs Guild Design Dash. Go to @DMS_guild. That's @DMs_guild. In a few minutes after the show wraps up, it will be our new pinned tweet. And so you can vote for Jacky, Justice, or Matthew. And someone will come back in December to design some more wacky Dungeons & Dragons. Before we kind of go through our sign-off, outros, any final words from our contestants? I promised that chat was going to do superlatives. And so they've kind of collaborated here, but this is going mainly off of Crystal Fire's list. Jacky's bravest toaster. Justice, most evil vacuum. Matthew's, let's see, first ever TPK during adventurer downtime due to trampling.
Most trampliest.
Most trampliest. Because everybody is a winner. We've got a little bit of a couple extra minutes than we usually do at the end. We're usually scrambling for outros. So let's go back through our contestants. And in addition to saying who you are, where folks can find you, anything else you want to plug, you do like a 1 or 2 sentences of why they should vote for you. Jacky, let's start with you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jacky, better known as Death by Mage, and you can find me on Twitter @DeathByMage. And the reason you should vote for me is toasters, and I will actually have real toast in my toasters.
Wow. Oh, wow. Not stale, half-eaten toast. Oh, my goodness.
Personally attacked.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Justice. And you're up next.
I am Justice Arman. You can find me on Twitter at Justice_Arman or at www.norsedm.com. You should vote for me because carbs are totally out this year. You're going to be eating a bunch of Thanksgiving. Get rid of the bread. Just focus on salads and stuff till that time comes.
And last but not least, Matthew.
Yeah, I'm Matthew Gravelyn. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Matthew. You should vote for me because I agree. Carbs are out. Keto for life. We don't need none of that. And also, you should vote for me because Mannequin Revolution.
Lovely. And Matt, how about you?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at MMM666, and I also help Lysa with the DMs Guild Twitter account now and then. But next up, I've got PAX Unplugged, so you can stop by and play some games. And I'm looking forward to next Design Dash.
Yeah, it's sure to be a fun one. I am Lysa Penrose, Community Manager for Dungeon Masters Guild. You can find me at Merciful DM or wherever Dungeon Masters Guild social media is. If you missed earlier on in the show, if you've not gone to DM's Guild, which is a marketplace for 5e and classic Dungeons and Dragons PDFs and print-on-demand books, you should check us out. You can use the code ROBODASH, ROBODASH, in the next week to get 20% off your purchase of a community creator title. That's RoboDash for DungeonMastersGuild.com.